13. Black singers who caught their husbands in secret gay affairs. A wedding ring is meant to symbolize devotion, but in the wrong hands, it becomes camouflage for a life lived in the shadows. One unexplained absence or sudden obsessive need for privacy is all it takes to shatter a household. For the queens of R&B, singing about passionate love was their livelihood. Yet while these chart-topping divas poured their hearts out under arena spotlights, their private lives were built on engineered falsehoods. Terrified of tabloid scandals, their husbands forced these celebrated women to endure unbearable heartbreak in total isolation. Today on Black Hollywood Uncut, we expose 13 iconic black songbirds who uncovered the secret lives of their husbands. Subscribe and hit that notification bell. Stay until the very end, because the midnight discoveries on our countdown will shake you to your core. Janet Jackson, 60 age. Now Janet Jackson is 60 years old now, and her life has always carried the strange contrast between total superstardom and extreme privacy. She was born into the most famous musical family in America, but Janet never survived on the Jackson name alone. She built her own empire through discipline, reinvention, and fearless control of her image. With albums like Control, Rhythm Nation 1814, and Janet, she became more than a pop star. She became a cultural force, shaping music, dance, fashion, and the sound of an entire generation. But behind that powerful stage presence was a woman who often kept her deepest personal struggles far away from the public. One of the most private chapters of Janet's life was her marriage to Rene Elizondo Jr. The two married secretly in 1991, and for years, many fans did not even know she was married. Rene was not only her husband, but also a creative partner who worked closely with her during some of the most important years of her career. From the outside, their bond seemed artistic, intimate, and protected from the noise of Hollywood. The transcript presents a dramatic version of their ending, suggesting that Janet discovered a hidden betrayal involving another man. However, that specific claim should be handled carefully, because there is no strong public evidence confirming such a scene. What is confirmed is that Janet and Rene separated in 1999, and their divorce became very public after years of secrecy. The legal battle that followed pulled parts of Janet's private life into the spotlight, turning what had once been hidden into headline material. For Janet, the pain was not only the end of a marriage, it was the collapse of a private world she had worked hard to protect. Imagine being one of the most watched women on earth, yet still trying to keep one sacred part of your life untouched, only to have that privacy broken in the most public way. Still, Janet Jackson did what she has always done. She kept moving. She turned silence into strength, heartbreak into discipline, and mystery into power. Her story remains compelling because it reminds us that even the biggest icons can be fighting private battles no audience ever sees. Aretha Franklin, die, age 76, in 2018. Aretha Franklin, leaving behind a voice that did not simply entertain the world, it commanded it. She was the queen of soul, a woman whose music carried church fire, heartbreak, pride, and liberation all at once. From Respect to Chain of Fools, from gospel roots to global stages, Aretha became one of the most important singers in American history. But behind the crown, behind the fur coats, piano benches, and standing ovations, there was a private woman who carried wounds the public rarely saw clearly. Her second marriage to actor Glynn Turman began in 1978, at a time when both were respected figures in entertainment. On the outside, the pairing looked powerful, the queen of soul and a rising actor with charm, talent, and Hollywood presence. But fame does not make marriage easier. It can make distance sharper, rumors louder, and loneliness harder to admit. Their relationship struggled under the weight of separate careers, travel, private tension, and the difficulty of building peace while living under constant attention. The transcript presents a dramatic version of their breakup, suggesting that Aretha personally discovered a hidden betrayal involving another man. That detail should be treated carefully, because reliable public sources do not confirm such a scene. What is known is that Aretha and Glynn separated before divorcing in 1984, and both continued their lives with dignity afterward. Glynn Turman has spoken warmly of Aretha over the years, remembering her not as a scandal, but as a deeply gifted woman with a complicated private life. For Aretha, the deeper truth may be less about one shocking moment and more about the emotional cost of being a woman everyone wanted to hear, but few truly understood. She sang about love with power because she knew love could wound. She sang about respect because she knew what it meant to fight for it. And she guarded her personal life because, after giving so much of herself to the world, privacy became one of the few things she could still protect. Aretha Franklin's story remains powerful because she was not just a legend with a perfect voice. She was a woman who survived heartbreak, pressure, family pain, and public expectation, then turned it all into music that still shakes the soul. Mary J. Blige, 55 age. Now Mary J. Blige is 55 years old now, and her entire career has been built on one unforgettable truth. Pain can become power if a woman refuses to let it bury her. Known as the Queen of Hip-Hop Soul, Mary did not rise because her life was easy. She rose because she sounded like every wound she had ever survived. Her voice carried heartbreak, anger, survival, and prayer in the same breath. When Mary sang, people did not just listen, they recognized themselves. Her marriage to Kendu Isaacs became one of the most painful public chapters of her life. For years, he was not only her husband, but also deeply connected to her business world. That kind of partnership can feel safe at first. Love and career seem to move together. Trust becomes personal and financial. But when that trust breaks, the damage reaches every part of a person's life. Their separation in 2016 quickly became public and messy. The divorce involved financial disputes, emotional accusations, and a painful unraveling that Mary later poured into her music. She has spoken openly about feeling betrayed, used, and forced to rebuild herself after giving so much to the marriage. The transcript suggests a more dramatic version involving secret same-sex betrayal, but that claim should be handled cautiously because strong public confirmation is lacking. What is confirmed is already powerful enough. Mary walked through a divorce that shook her emotionally, financially, and spiritually, and then she did what Mary J. Blige has always done. She turned the pain into art. Her album Strength of a Woman arrived like a declaration. It was not just music, it was a survival document. Every note seemed to say, "You can break my heart, you can drain my trust, you can embarrass me in public, but you cannot take my voice." What makes Mary's story so compelling is that she never pretends healing is glamorous. She lets people see the scars, the tears, the anger, and the slow return to self-worth. That honesty is why fans stay connected to her decade after decade. Mary J. Blige is more than a singer. She is proof that a woman can be betrayed, dragged through public pain, and still rise looking stronger than the people who tried to empty her. Vanessa Williams, 63 age. Now, Vanessa Williams is 63 years old now, and her story is one of the most powerful examples of how public humiliation can become the beginning of a greater legacy. Before the scandals, before the headlines, before Hollywood learned how resilient she really was, Vanessa made history in 1983 as the first black woman to be crowned Miss America. That crown was more than a title. It was a symbol. For many people, Vanessa represented beauty, talent, elegance, and the breaking of a barrier that had stood for far too long. But the celebration did not last. In 1984, unauthorized nude photos from her past were published, throwing her into one of the biggest scandals in pageant history. Under intense pressure, Vanessa resigned her crown. The public reaction was brutal. Sponsors pulled away, critics judged her harshly, and the same world that had applauded her suddenly treated her like a disgrace. For a young black woman who had just made history, the punishment was especially cruel. Yet Vanessa refused to let that moment become the final word on her life. She rebuilt herself with discipline and talent. Her music career rose with songs like Save the Best for Last, proving that she was not just a former beauty queen trapped by scandal. She became a recording artist, actress, Broadway performer, and television star. From Soul Food to Ugly Betty and Desperate Housewives, she kept reinventing herself while the public slowly realized something important. Vanessa Williams had never been destroyed. She had only been underestimated. The transcript connects Vanessa's marriage to Ramon Hervey II, with a dramatic claim involving hidden betrayal and another man. That specific detail should be handled carefully, because strong public evidence confirming such a scene is lacking. What is confirmed is that Vanessa and Ramon married in 1987, divorced in the late 1990s, and remained connected through their children. That truth is already enough to show the complexity of her private life, without turning rumor into fact. Vanessa Williams' story is not about one scandal, one marriage, or one painful chapter. It is about survival after public judgment. She lost a crown, but gained a career no one could take away. And in the end, her dignity became louder than the disgrace people once tried to attach to her name. Melba Moore, 80 age. Now Melba Moore is 80 years old now, and her life story carries the rhythm of triumph, betrayal, collapse, and survival. Long before her personal pain became public, Melba was already a force in entertainment. She was a Broadway star, a Tony Award winner, and a singer whose voice could move through soul, gospel, R&B, and jazz with breathtaking control. She stood on stages where audiences did not simply hear her, they felt her. At the height of her career, Melba Moore seemed to have everything a performer could dream of: talent, respect, beauty, and a future glowing with promise. In 1974, she married Charles Huggins, a music executive and producer who became deeply involved in her professional and personal life. At first, their marriage appeared to be a partnership built on trust. He understood the business. He was close to the money, the deals, the schedules, and the machinery behind her success. For an artist trying to survive a demanding industry, that kind of support can feel like protection. But when love and business become too tightly tied together, betrayal can cut twice as deep. Their marriage eventually ended in a painful divorce after many years. Publicly available accounts have long connected their split to financial conflict, accusations of control, and the devastating loss of stability Melba experienced after the relationship collapsed. The transcript presents an even more dramatic version, claiming that Melba discovered her husband with a male lover, and later learned her money had been misused. That claim should be treated with caution, unless directly supported by reliable public sources. What is clear is that Melba felt betrayed in ways that affected not only her heart, but also her career and financial security. After the divorce, she faced serious hardship. The woman who had once stood under bright lights found herself fighting to rebuild from emotional and financial ruin. But Melba Moore did not disappear. She kept singing, kept performing, and kept returning to the gift that had carried her from the beginning. Her story is powerful because it reminds viewers that fame does not protect a woman from being used, misled, or broken behind closed doors. But it also shows something stronger. Even after betrayal, a true voice can rise again. Stephanie Mills, 69. Age now. Stephanie Mills is 69 years old now, and her story begins with a voice that could fill a theater before she ever needed a spotlight to prove herself. Long before she became an R&B favorite, Stephanie was already a Broadway powerhouse. Her defining breakthrough came as Dorothy in The Wiz, where her voice gave home a kind of emotional force that audiences never forgot. She was young, gifted, disciplined, and carrying the kind of talent that made people believe she was destined for greatness. By the late 1970s and early 1980s, Stephanie Mills had crossed from Broadway into music with major success. Songs like "Never Knew Love Like This Before" helped turn her into one of the most recognizable voices of her generation. She had warmth, control, and emotional honesty. She could sing love like a dream, heartbreak like a confession, and survival like a promise. Her personal life, however, was far more complicated than the smoothness of her voice suggested. Stephanie married Jeffrey Daniel of Shalimar in 1980. He was a dancer, performer, and part of a group known for style, movement, and energy. From the outside, the marriage looked like a glamorous match between two artists from exciting worlds. But artistic chemistry does not always mean emotional security, and the marriage ended quickly. The transcript presents a dramatic version of their breakup, claiming Stephanie personally witnessed Jeffrey in an intimate situation with a male dancer. That detail should be handled carefully because reliable public evidence confirming such a scene is limited. What can be said safely is that Stephanie and Jeffrey Daniels' marriage was short-lived, and she moved forward from that chapter without allowing it to define her entire life. Stephanie Mill's strength has always been her ability to return to herself. She did not need scandal to remain interesting. Her real story is already powerful. A young Broadway star who became a respected recording artist. A woman who navigated fame, love, disappointment, and industry pressure while keeping her voice intact. Today, Stephanie Mills remains admired not only for her music, but for her honesty, confidence, and refusal to be erased. Her story reminds viewers that behind every unforgettable love song may be a woman who had to learn the hard way what love should never cost. Cheryl Lee Ralph, 69 age. Now Cheryl Lee Ralph is 69 years old now, and her life is a story of talent, patience, reinvention, and the kind of victory that arrives after years of being underestimated. Long before a new generation discovered her through Abbott Elementary, Cheryl was already a Broadway and screen force. She made history as Dina Jones in the original Broadway production of Dreamgirls, giving audiences beauty, grace, and a voice that carried both polish and pain. In the 1980s and 1990s, Cheryl Lee Ralph moved through Hollywood with undeniable talent. But like many black actresses and singers of her generation, she was not always given the opportunities her gifts deserved. She had the presence, the training, the elegance, and the voice. Still, the industry often made women like her wait longer, fight harder, and accept less attention than they had earned. But Cheryl never vanished. She kept working, kept building, and kept preparing for the moment the world would finally catch up. Her personal life also carried private challenges. Cheryl married Eric Maurice in 1990, and the two later divorced in 2001. The transcript presents a dramatic claim that her marriage ended after she witnessed him in an intimate situation with another man. That specific scene should be treated cautiously, because strong public confirmation is lacking. What is publicly clear is that the marriage ended, and Cheryl eventually rebuilt her personal life with strength and dignity. What makes Cheryl's story especially meaningful is that she turned parts of her life experience into advocacy. She became one of the most visible celebrity voices in HIV/AIDS awareness, especially through her Diva Foundation. Her activism was not performative. It came from a deep understanding of silence, stigma, fear, and the damage that happens when communities refuse to speak openly about painful truths. Then came her later career triumph. With Abbott Elementary, Cheryl Lee Ralph received the recognition many fans believed she had deserved for decades. Her Emmy win became more than an award moment. It felt like a public correction, a reminder that talent does not expire just because Hollywood takes too long to honor it. Cheryl Lee Ralph's story is not simply about marriage, rumor, or heartbreak. It is about a woman who kept her voice, her elegance, and her purpose through every season. And when the spotlight finally returned, she was ready. Tamar Braxton, 49 age. Now. Tamar Braxton is 49 years old now, and her life has always carried the intensity of a woman who feels everything deeply and refuses to hide it. Born into the famous Braxton family, Tamar grew up surrounded by music, competition, and expectation. She was not only the youngest sister trying to find her place beside a superstar like Toni Braxton, she was a singer with her own voice, her own attitude, and her own hunger to be seen. Over time, Tamar became known not just for her vocals, but for her bold personality, reality television presence, and emotional honesty. Her early marriage to music producer Daryl Delight Allenby became one of the painful chapters often discussed in connection with her past. They married in 2001, during a time when Tamar was still fighting to build her identity in the music industry. A relationship with a producer could look promising from the outside. Love, music, studio life, and ambition all tied together. But when love and career overlap, the emotional stakes become even higher. If trust breaks, it does not only affect the heart, it can damage a woman's confidence, direction, and sense of safety. The transcript presents a dramatic version of Tamar's marriage, claiming she discovered a hidden betrayal involving another man. That specific scene should be handled carefully, because strong public evidence confirming it is limited. What is confirmed is that Tamar and Allenby divorced after a short marriage, and Tamar later spoke about that relationship as a difficult lesson in trust and self-worth. What makes Tamar's story powerful is not just the breakup itself. It is the way she kept returning to the public eye, even when her pain was turned into entertainment. Through Braxton family values, Tamar and Vince, music releases, and public struggles, Tamar allowed audiences to see the messy, emotional, complicated parts of her journey. Some people judged her for being too loud. Others connected with her because she said the things many women only feel in silence. Tamar Braxton's story reminds viewers that fame does not protect a woman from disappointment, but it also shows that heartbreak can sharpen a woman's voice instead of silencing it. Tamar has been wounded, debated, and misunderstood, but she has never been invisible. Tisha Campbell, 57, age now. Tisha Campbell is 57 years old now, and her story is a reminder that the women who make audiences laugh the hardest are sometimes carrying the deepest private wounds. For many fans, Tisha is unforgettable as Gina on Martin, one of the most iconic black sitcoms of the 1990s. Her timing, beauty, voice, and chemistry on screen made her a familiar face in millions of homes. Later, with My Wife and Kids and other projects, she proved that her talent was not tied to one role. She was funny, expressive, musical, and emotionally sharp. But behind the career success, Tisha's personal life became complicated and painful. Her marriage to actor Dwayne Martin lasted more than 2 decades, making them appear to many fans like one of Hollywood's more stable black couples. They built a family, appeared together publicly, and moved through the industry as a familiar pair. From the outside, longevity can look like proof of happiness. But sometimes a long marriage only means the private struggle has lasted longer than anyone realized. Their separation and divorce became public in 2018, and the case brought serious claims about emotional pain, financial stress, and control inside the marriage. Tisha later spoke about rebuilding her life after the divorce and starting over with very little. That confirmed story is already powerful enough. A woman known for confidence and comedy had to face the collapse of a marriage, public attention, and the challenge of reclaiming her independence. The transcript connects Tisha's story to a dramatic claim involving Dwayne Martin and another man. That part should be treated very carefully because there is no reliable public confirmation proving such a scene happened. Dwayne Martin has been surrounded by rumors for years, but rumor is not the same as fact. For a safe and accurate remake, the better angle is not to present speculation as truth, but to focus on the confirmed breakdown of trust, the public divorce, and Tisha's recovery. Tisha Campbell's story works because it is about more than gossip. It is about survival after humiliation, starting over after financial and emotional damage, and refusing to let one failed marriage erase a lifetime of talent. She made people laugh on screen, but off-screen, she showed something even stronger, the courage to walk away and rebuild. Portia Williams, 45, age now. Portia Williams is 45 years old now, and her story is one of image, suspicion, heartbreak, and transformation under the harsh lights of reality television. She became widely known through The Real Housewives of Atlanta, where beauty, marriage, conflict, and ambition often collided in front of millions. When Portia first appeared, she was presented as the young wife of former NFL star Kordell Stewart, a man known for discipline, athletic power, and a very masculine public image. To viewers, their marriage looked polished from the outside. But reality television has a way of turning small cracks into full exposure. Portia married Kordell in 2011, and at first, the relationship seemed like a glamorous pairing between sports and entertainment. But as cameras followed their lives, the emotional distance between them became harder to ignore. Portia appeared to be struggling between the role of a traditional wife and her own desire for independence, career growth, and identity. The marriage did not feel balanced to many viewers. Instead, it often looked controlled, tense, and full of unspoken issues. The transcript presents a dramatic version of the marriage, suggesting Portia witnessed Kordell being intimate with another man. That claim should be handled very carefully, because Kordell Stewart has repeatedly denied rumors about his sexuality, and there is no reliable public confirmation proving such an event happened. For a safe and accurate remake, it is better to say that their marriage became surrounded by speculation and rumors, rather than presenting those rumors as fact. What is confirmed is that Kordell filed for divorce in 2013. a move that shocked Portia and became a major storyline on television. The breakup left her embarrassed, confused, and forced to rebuild herself in public. But that divorce also became a turning point. Once seen mainly as a wife trying to fit inside someone else's rules, Portia began stepping into her own voice. She became louder, more independent, and more central to the show's drama and success. Portia Williams' story is compelling because it is not just about one failed marriage. It is about a woman who walked out of a public humiliation and turned it into reinvention. Whether people believe the rumors or reject them, one thing is clear. Portia did not let the collapse of her marriage become the collapse of her future. Phyllis Hyman, die, age 45. In 1995. Phyllis Hyman died at age 45 in 1995, and her story remains one of the most haunting in Black music history. She was elegant, statuesque, emotionally intense, and gifted with a voice that seemed to carry every wound she had ever lived through. When Phyllis sang, the room changed. Her music was not only beautiful, it felt exposed. There was a loneliness inside her sound that fans could feel even when they did not know the details of her private pain. In the late 1970s, Phyllis married Larry Alexander, who was connected to her professional world. Their marriage came during a time when her career was growing, and from the outside, it might have looked like another artist finding stability with someone close to the business. But fame often hides more than it reveals. Behind the performances, the gowns, and the applause, Phyllis was fighting emotional battles that became heavier over time. The transcript presents a dramatic claim that Phyllis discovered her husband in a sexual situation with men. That specific scene should be treated cautiously because reliable public evidence confirming it is limited. What is safer and more accurate to say is that Phyllis's marriage ended, and her private life was marked by pain, loneliness, and emotional instability. She also openly faced struggles with depression and substance abuse, issues that followed her through different stages of her life and career. Her tragedy should never be reduced to gossip alone. Phyllis Hyman was a woman living under enormous pressure. Pressure to be beautiful, controlled, desirable, professional, and emotionally available to audiences, while privately falling apart. The music industry admired her voice, but did not always know how to protect the person behind it. She gave listeners songs filled with longing, but in her own life, peace often remained out of reach. By 1995, the darkness had become too heavy. Phyllis died by suicide, leaving fans devastated and leaving behind questions that still hurt to ask. Her death was not the result of one single heartbreak. It was the tragic ending of a long struggle with pain that had gone too deep. Phyllis Hyman's story belongs in this conversation not because of rumor, but because it reveals the cost of hidden suffering. She was more than a tragic singer. She was a brilliant woman whose voice survived in ways her heart could not. Miki Howard, 65 age. Now Miki Howard is 65 years old now, and her story carries the sound of a woman who sang with elegance, pain, and fire all at once. In the 1980s and 1990s, Miki became one of R&B's most distinctive voices, known for songs that blended jazz, soul, and old-school emotion. She had glamour, range, and a voice that could move from softness to heartbreak in a single phrase. But behind the polished performances and stage lights was a woman whose private life was often far more complicated than the music suggested. Miki Howard's career rose through talent, but her life was shaped by struggle. She faced the pressures of the industry, difficult relationships, personal battles, and the challenge of staying visible in a music business that could celebrate a woman one season and forget her the next. Her story has often been told through both her music and the dramatic turns in her life, including love, betrayal, survival, and the fight to reclaim control over her own narrative. The transcript connects Miki's marriage to Eddie Phelps with a shocking claim that she discovered him in an intimate situation with another man. That specific scene should be handled carefully because strong public evidence confirming it is limited. What can be said more responsibly is that Miki's personal life included painful relationship chapters, and her marriage to Eddie Phelps ended during a turbulent period. In a safe remake, the focus should stay on confirmed hardship, emotional betrayal, and the way relationship pain shaped her journey, not on presenting unverified accusations as fact. What makes Miki Howard compelling is that she never sounded untouched by life. Her voice carried experience. It carried the ache of a woman who knew what disappointment felt like and still chose to sing through it. She was not simply performing heartbreak for an audience. She made listeners feel that she understood it from the inside. Mickey's story belongs in this kind of video because it reflects the hidden cost of fame for Black female artists. Behind the beauty, the vocals, and the applause, there were battles the public rarely saw clearly. Yet she endured. She kept her name alive, kept her artistry intact, and proved that even when love becomes painful and the industry becomes cold, a true singer can still turn survival into sound. Jevetta Steele, 63, age now. Jevetta Steele is 63 years old now, and her story is one of the most emotionally intense chapters connected to love, secrecy, illness, and survival. She is a powerful singer and performer whose voice reached international attention through Calling You, a song remembered for its haunting beauty and emotional depth. But behind that voice was a woman who lived through a private shock so painful that she later transformed it into art. Jevetta's personal story has been connected to the stage production Two Queens, One Castle, a work inspired by the devastating discovery that a husband had been living with secrets that placed his wife's trust, health, and future at risk. The transcript presents her experience in a highly dramatic way, describing a Valentine's night confrontation and a sudden confession involving a hidden life on the down low. While exact dramatic details should be handled carefully, the broader story has been publicly linked to themes of marriage, HIV, sexuality, betrayal, and the emotional cost of secrets. What makes Jevetta's story different from ordinary celebrity heartbreak is the level of fear attached to it. This was not just about discovering that a marriage had been dishonest. It was about realizing that silence could have real consequences for a woman's body, her children, and her future. When HIV entered the story, the betrayal became more than emotional. It became terrifying. In that moment, love was no longer only a matter of loyalty. It became a question of safety, truth, and responsibility. But Jevetta Steele did not let the pain remain only private. She turned it into performance. Through Two Queens, One Castle, she gave voice to women who had been hurt by silence, and men who had been trapped by fear, shame, and social pressure. The work did not simply expose betrayal. It opened a conversation about secrets many families and communities were afraid to confront. Her story should be told with compassion, not mockery. The issue is not someone's sexuality. The real wound is deception, the choice to hide a truth that another person had the right to know. Jevetta Steele's chapter reminds viewers that honesty in marriage is not optional, it is protection. And when truth comes too late, the damage can echo for years. Navigating the relentless pressures of stardom while carrying the emotional scars of profound betrayal is a devastating burden to bear. Paralyzed by rigid societal stigmas and fear of career-ending tabloid scrutiny, these extraordinary women swallowed their unimaginable heartbreak, surviving their most painful and isolated hours in complete silence and secrecy. Yet no secret double life or private deception could ever silence the unmatched vocal brilliance these queens gifted to the world. While their romantic illusions were shattered behind closed doors, their electrifying artistry, soulful resilience, and historic contributions to Black music remain permanently etched in cultural history, completely powerful and untouchable. Which of these heartbreaking relationship revelations surprised you the most, and whose incredible resilience inspires you today? Share your thoughts in the comments below, hit that like button, subscribe to Hollywood Uncut, and ring the notification bell for more unvarnished true stories.